Ishmael, personal log, date February 30, 162, by our standards at any rate. The last few days have been interesting, to say the least. A few days ago, me and 3 other men, my companions, if you could say that, were captured by the Confederates. Scum. Locked away in a cell. We didn't know where. We can only assume they were pissed about the little stunt we tried to pull a little while back. If you can call, setting off a terraforming device on one of their outlying space stations a stunt. It's damn hard to get away from one of those things when it's, they're supposed to be dropped onto dead planets from orbit. It's a shame we lost Jerichus on the way out. His leg got caught by a ball of bioplasma. Survived just long enough to lift the ship off and get us out of the range of the destruction before giving in to the intense pain of having his leg vaporized and volatile chemicals creep into his body. So, now I'm left with these men who I know barely anything about, who are hired to do this job with me and Jerichus. But here's what I know. 2 of them are assassins, another voidborn like myself, by the name of Zarkov, specializes in silent killing from afar. The other assassin is the one I'm worried about. His name's Lazarus. Something about him that makes me feel uneasy. He's very reckless for an assassin. Likes to get up close and personal. I'll certainly be keeping an eye open, while I sleep around him, that's for certain. The last one is a young one named Hack, a renegade guardsman like myself, but from the feral world. It's fairly common for, ferals to be conned into joining the guard. They're not so bright. Tell them you'll give them a shiny coin and they'll do just about anything. But oh, so often do you hear the tales of once they realise, riot and try and escape. Not often do they escape with their lives though. So, Hack here must be either smart or strong. And judging from my experience, I'd say it's the latter. Anyway, I digress. We'd all been captured and locked in a cell for 3 days. That's when I learned all this information about them. Once a day, we were brought food by 2 Confederate guards, one carrying a tray and one armed. But it was evident this cell wasn't really made for extended periods of holding dangerous criminals. They'd opened the doors to give us this tray of what can barely be described as food. So it was obvious from this that they were just holding us here until they could get a shuttle to take us to another satellite for more permanent holding. We hatched the plan after the 2nd day. We'd use our experience and their poor security to get the better of them and escape. So, when the time came, Hack jumped the first man. Me and Zarkov took the first man out cold with no mercy. They wouldn't have showed us any, so why bother? Lazarus continued to wrestle with the other man and was obviously toying with him. We rummaged the guards' pockets and didn't find much. We did, however, manage to commandeer their pistols and flak armor. Only 2 sets. Hack and Laz were too busy anticipating the next fight to be bothered about armor. In hindsight, probably they should have taken it. We set off down the dingy metal corridor until we reached the turn. Quick glance round the corner and I determined that at the end would be a turbo lift, as I myself grew up in one of these stations. As we snuck down the corridor, trying not to make any noise. It's hard when you're wearing boots and walking down a metal corridor. It became apparent we'd alerted some attention. We kept going, and just before we reached the turbo lift, a patrol of 5 people came around the corner, and yet again another battle broke out. Myself and Zarkov took position at the back of the group, utilising our pistols and conserving ammo, taking shots for the head. Lazarus and Hack engaged them in combat. The scuffle didn't last long, but the last of the patrol, in a desperate sweep, managed to cut a gash into Hack's chest. Lucky for him, the skin of the feral world people is naturally thick. Evolution at work. One of the guards had a data slate which showed us the whole layout of what turned out to be a starport, not a station. The turbolift would take us anywhere we needed, so we decided the best place to go would be the medical bay. As I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted. The turbolift reached its destination in seconds, and by now the alarms were going off. We were sure the medical bay would be guarded, so, in a crude attempt of a bluff, I was to run into the room and announce that they were coming, me being the only one not splattered in blood. I ran into the med bay, but the doctors and medics inside weren't fooled at all, and ran into the solitary confinement room and sealed the door. Having noticed my brilliant plan had failed, I called for the others to come down. Looking around, there were a few patients hooked up to IV drips. Zarkov was helping hack into the room, and after them, Lazarus burst in and ran up to one of the beds of the patients. Saw a gleam in his eye that will haunt me for a while, I imagine. He leapt up onto the bed and ripped the IV from the helpless man's arm. And he put it up to the light, and then started stabbing the man in the eyes repeatedly and violently. You can see now why I feel uneasy around this man, can't you? From what I could tell after helping Zarkov patch up Hack, he'd gone up to the other patient in the ward and done exactly the same, as well as cut off their ears and stored them in a blood-stained pouch on his breast. This man truly concerns me, but what can you do about a man who is obviously insane? He seems to be fairly loyal to a little team though, but I can only tell this by the fact that we're still alive. By this time we'd obviously overstayed our welcome. Another team of guards burst into the room. This time it didn't last long at all. We got away with no major injuries and we were all patched up as much as we could, but there's only a small amount of bandages can do. We raided the supply closet for everything we could carry. Our next objective was to reach a hangar where we could find a ship to escape. We took the turbo lift we took to get down here, back up again. We knew this would be the most defended place in the whole starport. We mentally prepared ourselves for the battle to come, but when the doors opened, there was no one to be seen, and a Storm Raven gunship bayed ahead of us, as if we were so lucky to arrive at the one hangar without any guards. Of course, our insane friend Lazarus here ran out with knife and IV needle in hand, straight into an ambush. He immediately hit the deck, covering his head with his hands. We were outnumbered at least 3-1, but we went in there. We knew we had the experience over them. We took defensive positions. There were only guards at Confederate starport. For most action, they were drunk at the bar or had gotten too rowdy. It was unfair on them. We picked them off one by one, advancing towards the gunship. But they soon got reinforcements after word got out that we were in this hangar. It was too little too late for them. Hack made a sprint for the gunship, dodging shot after shot, showing unnatural agility for someone of his background. The Confederate guard were laying down suppressing fire on myself and Zarkov, while somewhere behind the barrier we were hiding behind, Lazarus was having fun by the sounds of the scream. A thunderous roar came from the gunship. It seemed Hack's little feral mind had somehow figured out how to start the assault cannon, and soon there were no more sounds of resistance from the Confederates. Shielding my eyes from the bloody mess that would greet me as me and Zarkov made our way to the ship. None of us really knew how to fly the thing, but from my experience living on an orbital satellite array, I managed to start up the engines and open the hangar doors. Being as careful as I could, I guided the gunship out of the hangar, clipping one of the wings on the doors as we exited. This knocked off one of the stabilizers, but we made it out into space. That's everything from the last few days until now. We're all still on the gunship. I've read over the emergency landing procedures, but it's going to be tough with one of the stabilizers knocked out. I guess we'll deal with that when we come to it though. For now we're heading to a jungle world where apparently there's a settlement of pirates and renegades like ourselves. For now though, I could do with some rest. Like I'm going to get any of that with Lazarus about. Ishmael out.